from my perspective, the decision or the discussion that has been occurring about building a new building primarily has been based on a cost basis and on a basis of efficiency. You know, and the fact that I don't believe there, through several years of discussion, there wasn't a need identified for additional space. So at that point, you know, how do you move forward? There is hence a lot of discussion on start over again to make it the most effective operation you could have. No one is, at least on my end, from the chief's end, is opposed to a remodel. And if there's a desire to do that, I do believe I need to take that back to the fire department board because there's a difference in cost, likely. We need to do more research on that to figure that out and then make a decision as to what is, you know, what are you getting type of thing, and then how do you go about that. So I think at this point, you know, my purpose here tonight was to answer questions and provide some information, but I would be open to questions.
Just as a matter of procedure, what I'd like to do is just open this up to questions from the board members right now. And then afterwards, anybody, citizens who wish to be heard or ask either just to give your comments or to ask questions of the fire chief, that would be fine too. So with that, I'll open it up to the board.
Thank you, Chief. My questions are about timing. As contemplated up till now, the project would be redesigning, purchasing, taking care of all the entitlement work, redesigning, demolish, rebuild. The timeline that you presented to us in the April 13th memo takes us through July 2nd with just the design approval.
Right.
What would be construction timing estimate? And then I'm also going to ask you, in the alternate, what are your thoughts on timing to get all those questions answered about what really needs to happen there from a remodel standpoint to make it safe, efficient, etc.
Great. So the construction process, I believe from our discussion with the people we've talked to, is about a year. From the time to start to the time, you know, open the door and say, okay, we're going to because you have demolition first, you have a basement, if there needs, there is all that down, there's probably going to be some. Yeah. So about a year. The time to get more information on the model, I was hoping to talk to Zimmerman before I got here tonight in between some other things today, and we have not connected. So at that point, I don't know. I don't have a solid plan. I do know, you know, one of my questions for them was time, and then what is, we're going to have to go deeper into architectural design, so there's going to be a cost of doing that. And what do they need to do, and then what is the cost to do that too? Because we would need to vet out probably a more thorough plan before they can, you know, finalize and say, here's what it could look like, here's what it's going to operate like, that kind of stuff. So I was hoping to have that, but I don't have it.
Yeah. And I would hope if the board decides and if we do move towards further evaluation of remodeling, that one of the options that's looked at is I don't know that I'd call it a remodel, is you know, call it something else. You know, strip everything out outside of the facade and just rebuild the inside with the facade, because the architectural elements that are of interest are not the interior walls that are covered in mold and asbestos and decades of diesel soot.
And I get the impression that that's sort of the route they were going when they gave me this 48-hour updated number. Like, okay, where would we go? That's sort of the impression I'm getting, is that's how they would handle it, is they would pretty much strip it out. Yeah.
I had some more about
Yeah, that was my question on 3.7. That would be, let's eliminate all maintenance problems. Just start interior, mechanics, all new.
Yeah.
So we aren't facing more ongoing maintenance costs that are
Right.
substantial.
Yeah, no, I think no matter who owns it at that point, that's what I would recommend doing is you know, the boiler is, it probably needs to be taken out and new one put in. The air conditioning is not balanced throughout the building, and so they need to deal with all that, yeah.
When looking at a new building, you've already got some information from the architect on what that might look like. And it's my understanding that the architect was given direction to, you know, make it fit in with the other buildings around here too. At what point would you be able to let the board see what that is and let the public see what that is to see if that could be acceptable as
Sure.
opposed to a remodel?
Yeah, so we have, you know, in the design process, we've gone through a couple iterations of discussion with them. And they've given us some sort of tentative, here's what we could do here, here's what we could do here. My thought process would be that I could probably, I think, before, I think you have a meeting on May 7th is your next meeting potentially. You know, I would need to firm that up with them, and I think they're aware, and they're totally aware of what's going on. I've been keeping them up to date pretty much daily lately. We could bring something back to look at. They were given just very strict direction that, you know, we need something to fit this area. We need something, and I know they spent a lot of time looking at the library and the roof and how it peaks and all that, and looking at the village hall. And, you know, one of the tentative pictures that was just provided in a work session, you know, had a lot of features of that, and they can work from that yet. It's not, by any means, it's not a final design. It's literally sitting in a room talking about what would you do this, what would you do that. So I think I could have something probably within 3 weeks.
Yeah, more of a suggestion. You probably can't answer it, but in terms of, you know, the interior, there's some really great architectural
Right.
details, and I'm imagining that there's a way to salvage those and reclaim them for any, whether it's a remodel
Yep.
or a new building. So there might be a way to preserve some of that history and integrate it into a higher
Yeah.
function.
I know they've worked on, there's the wrought iron outside. They've worked that into some tentative design plans and things on the inside of the building.
Right, so rather than copying it, they could actually use.
Right, they'd use it. They were, the one designer we've been working with, who I think is retired, or now is since he retired, he was real cognizant of, and that was one of his focuses, was let's make it, they knew this would be an issue. Like we knew going in, this was going to be an issue. You know, it's how do you keep tradition and history, but still provide a useful building that's going to last for a long time.
And I would also say thank you for every hour that is spent in that building, because it's absolutely horrible. So please pass my thanks and respect on to the firefighters.
And that, I guess the one thing, and I know you have other questions, is I would ask as the chief is, whatever is decided, we need to move on in a timely fashion. Because the building is strictly in need of a lot of work. The employees, the firefighters have waited. You know, we sort of timed this out back to the police station, and let's do the police station, and then we're going to deal with this issue. And they have patiently waited for, you know, we're going to fix the boiler, but we're going to fix it a little bit so we can get through it. They're all understanding of the cost issues here, but you know, I feel as their boss is to keep the process going. I need to keep it.
The work conditions are.
Yeah.
Trustee Lynn?
I just wanted to make sure that if one option is to raise it new construction, clearly that for the functioning of the firefighters, that's optimal, because you can make it however you need it or want it. But if we were to go to a direction of gutting and remodeling the existing, is in terms of the functioning of the fire station. I mean, that, I just want to make sure that will still work. It will still, may not be as optimal as new construction, but I just want to make sure that it would still work and be functional for the fire department.
Yeah, I have nothing to believe me that it wouldn't be. And we haven't sat down and done floor plan work with them. I trust the people we're using who have told me they can make it work and make it functional. I think there is there's a fine balance in, no matter what we do, it's going to be better. At that point, and that's sort of how I'm looking at this, is it's going to be better. We just got to get through that process to get there. And we can make it functional. The biggest issue on my end is, the condition, and I know it's my responsibility as chief, I'm also going to have to deal with cost issues. So I need to balance that. We have someone saying I can build a new one for 3.4, and then that same person's saying, 3.7, 3.7 something.
For a remodel.
For a remodel, so how do we balance out not that differential and then the operating cost that comes with it? Because that is a whole nother unexpected. We pay right now 50% of the operating costs in the building. So, for the sole occupant, I fully expect and we're using the majority of that all space, that discussion has to change. So how do I budget for all that? And then go back to the other 6 municipalities and say, okay, here's the route we're going, we need to get buy-in.
Trustee Bachler.
So, Chief Whitaker, I want to thank you. Before I was elected to the board for the first time in 2013, I went with Chief Banasinski, the former police Bano, and he took me practically through every crawl space even of the building on both sides. And so I thank you again for your patience, because back then it was 6 years.
He's been working on it. Yeah.
And he came up with people who were for a while.
Yeah.
Many iterations and many options for redesign, and he's very creative.
Yep.
You're aware.
Yeah, he had every option on the table.
So again, I appreciate the amount of time that you guys have spent there.
Yeah.
As public safety officers right here in our village and centrally located spot, and you're willing to work with us here to find an optimal solution for everyone. Because it is a tricky matter.
Yep. No, we do this. I'm sorry.
You bring up a point there too, which you haven't really addressed, but since we've got everybody here right now, how bad do we need a station right here?
Well, we
How
looked at.
important it is to have it here.
Yeah, so through the point of discussion for a couple of years, we've looked at those options. So, when you talk emergency response, people, whether it's fair or not, they grade you on how fast you get there. Sometimes the outcome is overlooked, which is sort of an interesting way, because usually when you buy a product, you want the outcome. Generally across the country, people really focus on how fast you can get there, maybe not on measuring the outcome. And we try to measure the outcome, but when you just ask the person on the street what's important to you in public safety, getting that fast. So we did look at alternatives for location, all the way to there was ongoing discussion of could the fire department operate with a 4-station scenario. This goes back to 2005, I think, which would be to combine the Whitefish Bay and Shorewood building somewhere in the middle. There are downfalls to that. That was a scenario that was looked at. I'm not saying, I don't think anyone recommended it other than a consultant said you could think about this. The challenge in Shorewood Whitefish Bay is where's open property, where's land to go, and if you have to go somewhere else, you potentially are looking at eminent domain, or things that people don't, I wouldn't say it's a good discussion to have. Nathan's over there getting nervous at this point. So there was limited options. We did look at the new police station, and we looked at the scenarios. The response time was one, and really you have a 45-second to a minute change on everything east of Oakland Avenue, if you go there. So at the time, and I would agree, it was felt that that would be, you know, not the best decision, not only just for Shorewood, but for all 7 communities in general. You're moving pretty far west to an area where you have a sort of a central cross path and Capitol and Oakland type of thing, that's where it was. We did look at property just to see what was out there on Oakland Avenue, and I think, you know, there's probably some, you know, it's a commercial district. To mix like a public building use is a challenge for a lot of reasons. And the property there, value-wise, is significantly higher than anything else that we or you already own for that purpose. So there was a negative to that. So from a response time perspective, if I draw a circle within a block of here, this is where the map says you really want to be. So whoever put it in here years and years ago must have been doing stuff that we pay big money for software to do right now.
Not a question, a comment.